When the Trinity is missing in evangelism, really you've got a huge problem because you're thinking, which God are we talking about? I don't think there's any point really today in talking about God in the abstract in our evangelism. There are so many different concepts of God that are out there, from philosophical notions to different religious notions, to just the notion that people have in the cafe or the pub discussion. People, when they say God, I don't know what they mean. And so the big question in evangelism is always, which God? It was Tom Wright who, when he was a chaplain at Worcester College, Oxford, he used to have many agnostic and atheist students tell him that they didn't believe in God, and Tom Wright had a brilliant comeback. He used to say, well, which God don't you believe in? And the student would fumble around and say, well, just God. I don't believe in the big guy in the sky who's just waiting to zap you. And Tom Wright would say, well, neither do I. Let me tell you about Jesus. And so he is getting us to think of, which God are we talking about? And really, that's what I mean when I talk about Trinitarian evangelism. I don't mean you have to use the word Trinity. I don't mean you have to unpack the Nicene Creed in your evangelism or anything of the sort. I don't mean you need to use the vocabulary that was, developed in the 4th century by Athanasius. I don't mean any of that. But I do mean we need to be speaking of the specifically Christian God in evangelism. I was doing some evangelism at a university in England, and a woman from Iran was in the front row, and she came and listened to many of my talks, and then I got to talk to her after one of the talks. I said, what's your story? She said, I was 14 years old, I was going to mosque, I was learning to pray in Arabic, I was a very devout Muslim. My uncle gave me a copy of the Gospels. Halfway through Luke's Gospel, unconverted. And she said, I suddenly saw that God could not be the God of the Ayatollahs. He has to be the Jesus God. And that's a phrase that I've been using ever since, really. The Jesus God is what we're on about. So really, when we talk about Trinity, we're just really wanting to get Jesus at the center of things. And as soon as you put Jesus at the center, you ask, well, who is he? Well, he's the Son of the Father, and he's full of the Holy Spirit. Well, that's the doctrine of the Trinity. And you don't need to use the word, but you do need to understand who this Jesus is, because the question of which God is always vital.